Long ago, the Shonen Jump chapters came out on Wednesdays for an early release. Then, everything changed when the Japanese government attacked. Long story short, I can't make 3 videos on Thursdays. I just can't. Because on Thursdays, I have a class in the afternoon that I have to prepare for, I have to read. It's a very discussion-heavy class. So I'll use my own discretion in terms of what I upload first. Either the One Piece review or the Naruto Shippuden review. I know it kind of sucks, but it is what it is. Such is life. Anyway, the Jinbei storyline I think is about to get very interesting because I think we're going to find out who did that to the ship, who cut it up. Now, if you go back to the previous chapter and you see the cover page for that, you'll see that there's 3 scars, 3 marks of some type of a claw on the ship, on the bottom of the ship. And people are saying that that could be Blackbeard because of what he did to Shanks' face. The title of this chapter is called Secret Plan, which to me is kind of confusing at first because by the end of this chapter, Law tells Luffy, we should have stuck with the plan. You said you were going to stick with the plan. But we don't really get to find out what that plan is unless he meant the shambles. Sugar's toys go back to normal. Turns out there was 8 people per nutcracker, which is crazy. And then I'm looking at Bartolomeo and he looks pretty okay. He says his barrier's back. And so it's Cavendish, Robin, and Bartolomeo, and it looks like they're all going to fight Gladius, but if that's the case, that seems like a very one-sided fight. So I'm expecting either more Doflamingo family members to show up, like maybe Robin could go up against Baby 5 or something, or Dellinger, or Buffalo, or, because it seems very uneven at the moment. I was going to say Jesus Burgess at first, but I think his orders were just to go to Dressrosa to try and get the Meta Nomi, and then after, Sabo consumed it, it's like, okay, better fucking leave, because there's nothing else for him to do. And if he wants to get into random fights, which I know he enjoys, he can't really be in a fight and then be defeated unless he gets replaced by Blackbeard because, if Blackbeard chooses another subordinate, because I think Jesus Burgess is kind of one of those final characters that are going to be taken down by the Straw Hats eventually at the end of the series. Then we go to Law and Luffy and Doflamingo, and there's this whole discussion on Bellamy here. And the thing that really stuck out to me was the fact that Luffy remembered that Bellamy was saying, I truly admire Doflamingo, I really respect him. To the point where it gets you thinking, what is there to respect or to admire, Because if Bellamy's loyalty to Doflamingo is, it's pretty strong. So it got me thinking of, what if Oda is not showing us the flashback yet? Because if he shows us the flashback, we might eventually sympathize and really like Doflamingo. I'm not saying that he hasn't done evil things. He obviously has. But what if his reason for doing them is somewhat kind of relatable? Granted, there's no excuse for murder, which he has done. Because if you look at the way he's behaved in this arc, it kind of seems like he's been avoiding wanting to get into a fight with Luffy, with the clones, with having Pico rearrange the landscape and all that stuff. And even now he says, hey, you want to talk about cruelty? Look at what you did to my business in Punk Hazard. Granted, the business was fucking, there was a lot of sketchy shit going on in that business, but it's still something like look at what you've done to me, in a sense. This kind of gets you thinking about all these things that could be under the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Doflamingo's character. How complex he is, how traumatic his childhood was maybe. That doesn't mean I excuse any of his actions. It doesn't. It's just like, holy, I'm just really intrigued. In this chapter, we find out that Law took a page from his book when he told Tashigi that weaklings can't choose their way of death. That is something that he learned from Doflamingo. There's a brief reference in this chapter to the title of Third Corazon, which makes me think 2 things. Okay, first of all, it makes me think that Pica, Treble, and Diamante, those aren't really the characters' names, rather it's their title. Because it looks like there's a lineage when it comes to obtaining the title of the suits, right? And second of all, well, who would be the second one? Would it be like Doflamingo's brother? Was Law supposed to be the third Corazon? And most importantly, who was the first Corazon then? Also, I think somebody sent me a PM about Treble possibly being a slave in Marijoa that was freed by Doflamingo, and that's why you see Treble still wearing the cuffs and the chains. In manipulating Bellamy, Doflamingo actually kind of lets a weakness of his ability slip out. He says that he can't, the way I understand it is that he can't manipulate the person if the person is unconscious, okay? So it reminded me of Punk Hazard, the way that Usopp was putting the kids to sleep. So you don't have to be, you don't have to be knocked out through force for Doflamingo to not be able to use his ability. Luffy gets fed up with the game. He's like, screw this shit, gomu gomu no! Looks like he's about to Red Hawk Law in the face, which, by the way, this cannot be a coincidence that this chapter came out right after the 3D 2Y special, where he learns to use Red Hawk. I thought it was a nice coincidence in terms of timing. But anyway, so he's about to it looks like he's about to hit Law. Even Treble's like, he's about to beat the shit out of Law. Chombles, he switched himself with Doflamingo. Law ends up in Doflamingo's chair, and Doflamingo ends up in front of Luffy to get a Red Hawk to the gut. And this guy's spouting out blood like, it is incredibly rewarding to see this happening. I mean, granted, Red Hawk always looks epic in the manga, but listen, it's like, not just because of the build-up and the evasion tactics that Doflamingo had used to avoid getting to this point, but because this is the opening act of the fight. It's not like it's not a finishing move, it's just the fucking first move that Luffy's using to open up the fight. Which means that Luffy, depending on how much, you know, Doflamingo pushes him, Luffy might show us a new technique that we haven't seen from him before. To be fair, I honestly don't understand how Doflamingo didn't see this coming. Like, it's like, the moment you saw Luffy aiming at Law, I would have been like, okay, yeah, shit, he's gonna change himself with where I am right now so that I can get the punch. But he doesn't process it, and if he does, he doesn't process it fast enough. Law ends up cutting Treble to shreds a little bit. And it's like, it's not a normal cut, because if you look at the panel, you'll see some electricity with the cut, and Law can do this. We were introduced to this in Punk Hazard when he used like this electroshock, like this defibrillator attack against the Yeti Cool Brothers. Luffy and Law just make such a great duo, great combo, and the best line is when Law says, Mugiwara ya, you're the worst, and then Luffy's like, yeah, you're part of that generation too, shut up. I thought it was a great chapter of One Piece. It actually went by, it felt really short because most of it is action, and One Piece, really, if you read most of the chapters, we're not used to getting chapters that are mostly action-based. Thank you so much for watching my review today, guys. Leave me a thumbs up, I would really appreciate that. And subscribe to my channel for more One Piece manga-related reviews. And finally, tell me your thoughts and theories about the progression of the series down below. Thanks. Bye.